2 dragons were sighted flying in the human world. This is not normal. They fight each other and one of them kills the other. This incident is reported to the king of Enland. At the same time, he also receives reports that half the livestock in the kingdom died due to an unknown disease. The good king gives great instructions on how to contain the calamity and save those who are in need. When the good king was alone, he gets stabbed by a boy. The boy's name is Aron. He is the prince of Enland, the king's own son. Why did he do it? We don't know. He takes the sheathed sword of his father and runs off. While riding on the dunes, he gets attacked by the wild dogs. He tries to defend himself with the sword, but he seems to be lacking in power to unsheathe the sword. He accepts his death. Right then, a wandering wizard saves Aron from the wild dogs. The wizard approaches Aron in kindness, but Aron glares at him in anger and falls unconscious. Sometime during the night, Aron wakes up. He checks for his sword in panic. The wizard gives him the sword and some food to eat. He says that the sword Aron carries was forged with magic, and Aron doesn't yet have what it takes to unsheath it. Aron, in panic, looks back as if someone is coming after him. He cowers in fear. When asked what happened by the wizard, he says, "It's nothing." In the morning while leaving, the wizard asks Aron to accompany him on his journey. Aron agrees and asks for the wizard's name. The wizard says his name is Sparrowhawk. After a long journey together, they visit a place called Hort Town. Here, Aron sees people being traded as slaves. Sparrowhawk buys Aron a cloak to hide his face and his sword. They both have a little chat for a while. Sparrowhawk then leaves for the inn, but Aron says he needs some time alone. After a while, Aron feels the same presence again, which he felt at the dunes. While escaping from it, he sees a girl being chased by the slave traders. Left side of her face has a burnt scar. The slave trader says she won't fetch a high price, and hence decides to keep her for themselves. Aron comes to save the girl. He fights and defeats 2 of them, and one who looks like their boss holds the girl hostage. But Aron doesn't seem to mind. He steps forward. The man gets scared by Aron. He tosses the girl away and leaves. Aron tries to comfort the girl, but she seems to be angry at him for some reason. Someone calls the girl from a distance and she runs off towards them. Aron learns that her name is Theru. He then takes some rest at the bank of the river and falls asleep. Night falls, and Aron wakes up to a kick in his gut. The slave trader returned for his revenge. He captures Aron and kicks his sword into the river, mistaking it for an old piece of junk. Aron is enslaved and is being moved in a carriage. He is being bound in chains. He accepts his fate as a slave. Right then, the bulls which are pulling the cart stops. A bright light blinds the guards. Sparrowhawk comes to the rescue. He unshackles all the slaves. He then takes Aron to a lady living in the outskirts of the town. She seems to be an old friend of his. She tends to Aron and gives him her bed to sleep. Her name is Tanar. She and Sparrowhawk talks of their times together. You see, Sparrowhawk is actually an archmage. One day he finds that the balance of the world has been disturbed and starts a journey in search of a solution. Surprisingly, we see Theru here. She has been living with Tanar since last 5 years. The archmage looks at Theru as if he knew her. Meanwhile, the slave trader from before enters a dark fortress. It belongs to another wizard named Cobb. Here we learn that the name of this slave trader is Hare. Hare reports to Cobb about the escaped slaves. Cobb punishes him by trying to crush his heart with magic. Then Hare, in his defense, speaks of Sparrowhawk. Cobb releases Hare and orders him to bring Sparrowhawk. In the morning, Theru wakes Aron thinking that it is Tanar that is still sleeping. Later, Tanar introduces Theru to Aron. Theru is still mad at him. While plowing along with Aron, Sparrowhawk talks about the balance, about the spells, and about true names of everything. Later, when Aron meets Theru in the barn, she tells him that she despises anyone who doesn't care about life and leaves in disappointment. Later that night, Aron has a nightmare. He sees himself drowning in a black swamp. In the morning, Sparrowhawk leaves, saying that he has a little errand to run. Hare and his men find the farmhouse where the wizard is staying. They destroy the field and ask for the whereabouts of the wizard. When he learns that Sparrowhawk is no longer there, he leaves. Tanar and Aron tend to the spoiled field. Meanwhile, Sparrowhawk finds Aron's sword in a weapon shop in the town. The shopkeeper tells him that it is rusted and a worthless sword. Right then, Hare finds Sparrowhawk, but the wizard uses magic to conceal his face, making him unable to recognize. Hare leaves in aggression. Sparrowhawk takes the sword from the shopkeeper and learns about an evil wizard named Cobb and his dark fortress. Elsewhere, Aron finds Theru singing a song. Aron is so much moved by the song that he tells about what he did to his father to Theru. that he doesn't understand why he killed or why he is always filled with a rage that he cannot control. Meanwhile, Hare reports to Cobb about the woman giving shelter to Sparrowhawk. Cobb gives an evil order to Hare. Hare smirks wickedly. Arryn is nowhere to be found. He leaves the farmhouse and arrives at a fork of the road. It doesn't matter which way I go, he thinks and walks along. He then arrives at a dead end. There he sees another himself and tries to escape, but in the process, he drowns in the water. Cobb sees all of this in his magic bowl and flies by turning into some kind of creature. Meanwhile, Hare captures Tanar and leaves Theroux with a message for Sparrowhawk. If you want to see your woman again, come to the Lord Cobb's castle. That's the message. Meanwhile, at the waters, the shadow Arryn finds Arryn floating on water. When trying to enter his body, he gets interrupted by Cobb. Cobb wards off the shadow Arryn and takes Arryn with him. Cobb offers him a drink to sedate him and fills Arryn with lies about Sparrowhawk. In a trance, he also gets the true name of Arryn. Using it, he takes control of Arryn's mind. Sparrowhawk returns to the farmhouse and learns what happened from Theroux. He gives her Arryn's sword and tells her not to go anywhere. He then rushes off to Cobb's fortress to rescue Tanar. There, he and Cobb argue about the morals of magic and immortality. You see, Cobb is trying to become immortal, and that is not good for the world. He pits Arryn against Sparrowhawk. Arryn fights him against his will, but Sparrowhawk manages to disarm him. While distracted with Arryn, he gets captured by Hare and gets thrown in the dungeon where Tanar is kept. While running with the sword, Theroux finds Arryn at a far-off distance. She follows him, and they end up at Cobb's fortress. He tells her that both Tanar and Sparrowhawk were being held captives. She offers Arryn his sword and asks him to help them. Arryn says that he cannot go any further and asks her in return to bring the sword to him. Theroux gets confused. He tells her that he is a shadow of Arryn. Every person has a light and darkness in them, and for Arryn, due to reasons yet unknown, the light version of him was separated from his body. Arryn gives Theroux his true name and disappears. Theroux sneaks into the fortress and searches all around for Arryn. She finally finds him, but by then, he is already in the depths of despair. She comforts him and gives him courage. She calls him by his true name. The light version of Arryn finally reunites with his body, and Cobb's control over him is broken. This time, Theroux gives Arryn her true name. They rush to save Sparrowhawk and Tanar. They find them, but they are about to get executed. They quickly reach them and interrupt the execution. When attacked, Arryn defeats the guards with the sword still sheathed. Cobb grabs Arryn's heart with magic. Arryn falls to the ground in pain. Yet, he overcomes pain and asks the sword to lend him power. The sword glows brightly while he draws it out. With just one swing of it, Arryn slashes Cobb's hand. That momentarily weakens his magic, and Sparrowhawk gets released from his shackles. Cobb's true form is revealed, and he turns into a weird creature. He grabs Theroux and makes an escape, and when he gets cornered by Arryn, he suffocates Theroux and kills her. A few moments later, Theroux gets up. Her eyes turn red and she transforms into a dragon. Cobb is burnt alive with just a single breath of her. Along with Cobb, the fortress also begins to collapse. Arryn calls Theroux's true name and the dragon comes to rescue. They fly and land near the farmhouse. Theroux transforms again into her human form. Sparrowhawk and Tanar also escape the collapse safely. After spending a few days at Tanar's place peacefully, Arryn and Sparrowhawk leave for Enland. Arryn is ready to face the consequences of killing his father. They say farewell to each other, and when Theroux looks up at the sky, she sees several dragons flying in the air. This is your Senpai's briefing of the film, Tales of the Earthsea. Hit the like button and enjoy watching this story next.